We had a mess up. Another episode of the Sit Down with Malik Wright, presented by First Star Logistics, live from the First Star Logistics studio here in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm your host, Malik Wright. We got a jam-packed show. This is the new crew of the Sit Down. We got my main man, who you guys are used to, Evan McPhillips, also my co-host on State of the Jungle. But we have a very, very special new host. I usually say guest, right? But we have a special new host of the Sit Down. You guys know her as the Cavaliers Kevin Love lover. You guys know her as the Cincinnati Reds lover, fan of the Cleveland Guardians, I believe, and the Browns. Yes. You know her.
Oh no,
she's an icon. she's an icon. As they say, she's her, right? Not so cool. Jules is now one of the official hosts of the Sit Down with Malik Wright, presented by First Star Logistics. And Jules, we are, unbelievably happy to have you, number one, joining us on the show. I hope that you're excited. I hope that you're pumped up. We got to spend a lot of time with each other the last I want to say about a day or two ago, and it was a blast. I know that you're going to bring a lot of life to this show, a lot of excitement to this show, and just tell the people, what are you looking forward to most? And most importantly, introduce yourself to the people. That's the camera right there for you to look at.
All right. In case you haven't heard, I'm Jules. Yes, I have this cowgirl hat on willingly because I love cowgirl hats. And as he also said, not so cool Jules on everything. I make it easy. I have it as not so cool Jules because people like to, if I had it as still cool Jules, and people just add the not to it, so I might as well just add it myself. I'm most excited to really talk about the Cavs and the Reds. Obviously, I like football as well, but baseball and basketball, love those sports. In my opinion, baseball is the best sport, and I will die on that hill.
That's pain.
I'm going to make you like baseball. I know I will.
If that's your life mission, good luck. Because I could tell you right now, nobody in my 27 years of living has been able to do that. But you know what, Jules, you know what? For you, for Evan, for the sake of this damn show, we're going to give it a try, right?
Yeah.
I know we have a lot of stuff planned with the Reds and things like that. And you said this is what you do.
This is my goal.
This is why you're the GOAT. This is why you're the GOAT. And, well, this is your world, and we're just living in it. But first and foremost, if you guys could do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Again, I love what people are saying in the comment section. This is the new big three. And
somebody said First Star Big Three over the 2010s Miami Heat Big Three.
Not 6, not 7, not
Splash
8.
Brothers who?
I love that.
Not 9 shows.
Yeah, well,
we're gonna keep going.
Damn, Malik, you're 27, looking good for 20. Thank you, I appreciate that. Black don't crack, but that's a whole nother story for a different day. With that being said, Jules, take it away. Right.
All right. So obviously, a lot is happening with Lamar Jackson. It's definitely chaos, to say the least. So what do you guys think the future holds for Lamar and the Ravens? Evan, we'll start with you.
That's a good question, because obviously people talk about how the Ravens made a good decision by trying to let the market dictate what they thought Lamar Jackson was worth. And clearly he wanted more money than they felt he was worth himself, which is kind of astounding when you got a guy who's 26, has won a former MVP. You see all the money that Deshaun Watson got, as well as the picks that went with it. And Lamar, for anything that you want to say about his ability as a passer, which he's still one of the better passers in the NFL and still has a great arm. He's been a model citizen off the field too, man. So I completely understand his perspective of saying, I'm worth this money. And I understand where the Ravens are coming from, saying, hey, we don't think you're going to get that, especially if we put a price of 2 first-round picks on it. So I understand where they're coming from with that. But I think the way that they've gone about supporting him through this process has been really poor. I think it's almost poisoned the relationship between them. I mean, you see the coach going, I don't know why he's not practicing. I don't know why he's not playing. You're going to have to ask him. And you've got players coming out after the season saying, look, dude's limping around the facility. And then you've got all the stuff coming out about the training staff, the strength coaches, how they're pushing their players when they shouldn't be, when they're not healthy, when they're causing more injuries and more damage. I can understand why Lamar might look at all that and say, no matter what happens, I want to play somewhere else. I want somewhere I can feel like I'm going to be taken care of, where I'm going to be prioritized both financially and physically, and not push past my limit. So that's kind of I think he is maybe not going to get offers this year that, end up enacting a trade. Maybe someone doesn't want to take that swing, but I think you can sell it to one of your fan bases. 2 first-round picks and giving Lamar a contract to be competitive. I think you could do that. And I think people would buy it, and I think people could get on board with it. But I think ultimately, I think it's best for Lamar if he goes somewhere else. I think he deserves that much. Malik, I'll let you go ahead and say your piece.
I'm really curious what Jules has to say about this too, and we're gonna get to that point. We are, but I'm gonna say this. I appreciate that you went out on a limb and you are, pretty much talking about how the Ravens haven't done everything to help Lamar. But I'm going to change it here. Let's talk about what Lamar hasn't done to help Lamar. Okay, let's start there.
That's fair.
First and foremost, Lamar Jackson the last 2 seasons hasn't ended healthy. Let's also talk about the fact that Lamar Jackson had a choice. He had a choice to be with his team in such a pivotal game, which was the wild card game against the Cincinnati Bengals. He decided, and yes, he decided to stay home. He decided not to travel with the team. Why? Because he was pissed that the Ravens decided to pay a linebacker. And yes, I understand Lamar Jackson was pissed. Lamar Jackson also had every right to be pissed. But let's also talk about this. What leader of a team acts in the way Lamar Jackson has? How does that make the Ravens feel any better about paying the guy? Because here's a couple of things that I do know for sure about Lamar Jackson. His eating habits are horrible. There were a lot of people that said, hey, he does not take care of his body. Hey, he acts like a toddler in the organization. And credit to DaCosta, credit to Harbaugh for saying all the right things in front of us, the media, and not throwing Lamar Jackson under the bus, right? But if we're going to talk about Lamar Jackson, it isn't always sunshines and rainbows when it comes to dealing with the former league MVP. There are things that you'd like to see out of your quote-unquote franchise quarterback that Lamar Jackson hasn't shown. Is the guy uber talented? Yes. Does the guy deserve to get paid? Is a team willing to pay him that, knowing the concerns behind the scenes that do come with Lamar Jackson? And for me, and I know you're ready. I know you're rearing. I
got one short question for you.
Yes, sir.
What good did it do RG3 to come back?
100. I agree with you. But
that's my perspective on why Lamar wouldn't come back to that one game without a contract in place.
Here's the thing, though. Everybody that looked at Lamar Jackson's injury said, okay, this is about a pain tolerance thing. We don't know when the guy's ready to come back. By all the doctors' measures, they're like, okay, this guy looks like he should be able to come back. That's why Harbaugh was like, we're confident Lamar is going to come back before the end of the season. We're confident we're going to have Lamar Jackson potentially for the playoffs. When it came to the point where we realized, holy shit, we're not going to have Lamar Jackson for any of those games, it caused into question, okay, did Lamar Jackson actually quit on the Ravens? And regardless of what Lamar Jackson and his people want to say, it's a valid question. It's a valid question. I have another thing that I want to add, but I want to let Jules get her point across first.
All right. As usual, I'm the middleman. I hope everyone has fun. I can't agree with both sides. Honestly, I do think the Ravens are being petty with some of the things they said about Lamar, but I also agree that Lamar has taken this situation. He hasn't really done the best for himself either. Obviously, injuries are a concern. Like you said, the past 2 seasons, that's been an issue. But I don't know. I don't think it's out of the question that he will stay with the Ravens. I think the Ravens are just kind of be like, okay, go out there, see what you're worth, and then come back because we'll match it anyways. Yes. They're making everyone else do their dirty work for them because they don't want to work with the negotiations. Right. They would rather somebody else do it.
Right.
But that seems so petty because I feel like you're being so.
It is petty.
They offered him Daniel Jones money.
Let me tell you why. Who
else is willing to really pay him what he's asking? And I feel like Deshaun Watson's contract is the root to all issues now, is because everyone's going to pay. I mean, compare their pay to that and what they think they're worth.
If you guys can do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be also answering your questions as the show goes on, so make sure you drop them down in the comment section. But I also want to get to another point. The Ravens played this beautifully. There is a reason why Baltimore's front office is consistently at the top of the league at acquiring talent and making moves that other teams are like, damn, you got Roquan Smith for that, or damn, you were able to sign this player for that. There is a reason why. Let me tell you why. Most people around the league know, obviously, Lamar Jackson represents himself. He has his mom and he's got himself, right? So it's a double-edged sword here, because here's the thing. When you represent yourself and you quote unquote negotiate those contracts yourself and you're representing yourself. Listen, I encourage every NFL player, if you have the background and you have the smarts to represent yourself, go do it. It cuts out the middleman. Richard Sherman, you're a genius. Richard Sherman, you opened up this can of worms for a lot of these players. But Richard Sherman's also one of the smartest football players in the league. Well, when he was playing, I graduated from Stanford University. The guy is smart as a whip, and I'm not saying Lamar Jackson isn't, but what I am saying is you have to ask yourself, well, one thing that Richard Sherman did well, Richard Sherman did a lot of connecting with a lot of, people around the league and stuff like that. Well, when you represent yourself, right? Well, number one, if you're Lamar Jackson and they hit you with the non-exclusive franchise tag, Lamar Jackson can't reach out to those teams, albeit like another player. If you have an agent, well, the agent can reach out to teams, engage interest, right? But the fact of the matter is Lamar Jackson represents himself. So Lamar Jackson was already behind the eight ball. Lamar Jackson was already behind the eight ball. Lamar Jackson couldn't do a quote unquote reaching out to teams from a legal tampering period and all that kind of stuff like anybody else would. He had to literally wait until the new league year started to start talking to those teams. And now I have a grand question for everybody who says, you know what? Collusion. Lamar Jackson isn't getting the contract he deserves. Do you actually think Lamar Jackson has general manager's numbers? Do you think his mom has those numbers? And let me ask you a question. Do you think that he's going to the Ravens and the Ravens are saying, you know what? You want Terry Fontenot's number? Here you go. That's not happening. Those are not conversations that are happening. The Ravens are not going to help another team get Lamar Jackson. So when people say, oh, the league is conspiring against Lamar, no, let's talk about the facts. If you don't have those connections and those relationships, and I had somebody under my Twitter DM saying, well, you don't think Lamar Jackson could send an email to a team? What? Come on, let's be real. That's what the agent is for. No, you don't need an agent so to speak, to broker a deal, but you do need an agent to get you both parties to the table. You do need that, especially in Lamar's case, who doesn't have everything working for him. Yes, he's a former league MVP, but he also has injuries working against him. So yes, that's where the agent will come in. That's where the agent will close the gap. That's where the agent will negotiate for you. Lamar Jackson would be great with Dave Mogetta, who's from Athletes First, who consistently gets his quarterbacks top-notch dollar. I hate to bring it up. He got Deshaun Watson a guaranteed contract coming off of all the issues that he has.
Isn't that part of the problem, like Jules brought up, is because just like the running back market is getting reset, where people saw the Zeke contract, the Christian McCaffrey contracts, and now you're seeing Aaron Jones just renegotiated his contract and took a pay cut just to stay with the team. You see Austin Eckler wants more money, but people aren't willing to give it to him. The trade market is just not there for him right now, and the Chargers don't want to do it either,
right?
Even with all he's meant to them and Justin Herbert in the most recent years. So I think you're seeing kind of that hard stance against these higher contracts, like you did for running backs, like you did a little bit for safety this year.
Right. And W. Lewis, 19,760. I see what you're saying. You tell me stop it. You don't think Jackson can get GM's numbers? Okay, if you believe that, why doesn't Lamar Jackson, one of the most talented quarterbacks in the National Football League, why does he not have a contract on the table or any offer on the table from a team outside of the Baltimore Ravens? Since you know all the answers, right? Since it's your world and we're obviously living in it, why is there not at least one offer on the table for a former league MVP? I'll wait. Because the simple fact of the matter is there's a lot of baggage that comes with Lamar Jackson. And no, we're not talking about character issues off the field. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the fully bought in type of questions, right? Does this guy actually want to lead a franchise? He wants too much guaranteed money. How can you say he wants too much guaranteed money? He's literally come out and debunked rumors of people saying he's turned down a contract offering X amount of dollars. That's a fact. No, the fact of the matter is no team has made an offer for Lamar Jackson because no team wants to do bad business. No team wants to that's just not what they're doing. That's why all these teams have come out and they said, we're not interested. We're not interested. We're not interested because there's so much baggage. It's not like you're going out and getting a pocket passer. You have to literally build your entire offense, entire roster around Lamar Jackson's capabilities. And guess what? It's March 20th. It's late in the game. Most teams have hired their offensive coordinator already. I cannot wait to be a fly on the wall. I would love to be a fly on the wall in Baltimore and know how when Lamar Jackson eventually winds up signing back with the Ravens, how him and Todd Monken are going to work out, because Todd Monken's never had a quarterback with Lamar. Todd Monken is used to dealing with passers. Todd Monken has never dealt with a quarterback that is this talented, that requires the ball in his hands. So to me, there's a lot that goes into why Lamar Jackson does not have a contract offer on the table. You know, would it be a team that I prayed and I wish would have some type of level of interest in Lamar Jackson, but they don't? The San Francisco 49ers. He would do freaking great in San Francisco. He would do great with Kyle Shanahan. Remember, it takes a special play caller. It takes a special play caller to work with Lamar Jackson, to get the best out of Lamar Jackson. Todd Monken, that's going to be a very, very interesting one. So for me, do you guys have anything else that you want to add when it comes to Lamar Jackson situation? To me, it's just very frustrating because people don't realize, like, the Ravens played this beautifully. They knew that even if he was willing to go out there and get an offer, they would be able to just match it, number one. And number two, they knew, okay, this guy doesn't have the context to reach out to GMs because you represent yourself. You represent. At the negotiating table, things get, when a player represents themselves, it can get personal and you can get offended. And when you're unfortunately in business, you have to be able to take your emotions. You have to be able to take your emotions out of it, which is why most players have agents, because you're going to hear things that you don't want to hear at that table. People are going to tell you like it is at that table. That's a fact. And guess what? If everybody can agree Lamar Jackson's super talented, everybody can. No one's debating that. But if teams could not want Aaron Rodgers, right? Teams could certainly not want Lamar Jackson. Jules?
I really don't have much to add. I do agree that other teams aren't really willing to pay him. Ravens are going to match it anyway, so what's the point? Again, they're just the Ravens are just being petty, as is Lamar, I guess. To just be like, oh, y'all can go do the negotiating, all the dirty work.
Like a bad marriage.
You know, it really is, because it seems very toxic. I wouldn't want to, like, if I was Lamar, I wouldn't want to go back to the Ravens, but also, like you said, he's representing himself. He should just get an agent, but he's not going to. I don't think he can remove his emotions when he's at that table. I don't think he can, and I think he's just going to end up back with the Ravens. I don't really, the fact that no team has reached out yet is concerning, especially with the draft and everything coming up too. It's going to fly by fast. We know how the offseason works.
100%. So we're going to move on to the next topic, which is the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins exercised Tua Tagovailoa's 5th-year option. I have a lot of thoughts on that. As you guys know, our producer Daniel is a big Tua guy.
Love
big Tua guy. Big Tua guy.
Love the Miami Dolphins.
Big Tua guy.
Roster.
4.5. Big Tua Tagovailoa guy. Evan, I have thoughts on Tua. I know Jules has thoughts on Tua. She's a big Tua guy.
I love Tua.
Girl. Big Tua.
Whatever.
Girl. Yeah.
It's fine.
Ev, floor is yours.
I completely understand where the Dolphins are coming from, right?
Jeez.
Because I don't know that. What are you going to do? Sign a Derek Carr? Does that make you feel better than what you got with Tua right now? Does that feel like a plan for the future? This is a team that we talked about earlier after a bunch of restructures, that they have 2 guys over the age of 30 making $20 million next year, and Xavier Howard and Armstrong at tackle. So, or Armstead, sorry. You're talking about guys who've dealt with injuries, who've been banged up. And so I understand that they're saying, hey, we can keep our quarterback cheap right now and try and maximize this roster with a guy that we believe, like you would in a Shanahan system with their head coach there. You're talking about a guy who can point and shoot, who can be accurate, make the right reads, make the quick reads and process that. And I feel like he thinks that Tua is his style of, like you said, the coveted Kirk Cousins by Kyle Shanahan, wherever he seems to go. These guys who are these pocket passers who can just get the ball where it's supposed to go, because you have such good playmakers. You have all these different concepts that are getting these guys running wide open. So I feel like for what they want, he's a good fit. If you start getting to the point where you're paying him $40-50 million, then I think there's a lot of question marks. And obviously his health is a giant question mark. But I think accepting the option keeps your quarterback cheap, lets you maximize your roster in the short term. And at the very least, you can give that chance for another year or two to see what the health looks like.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I think the biggest concern, obviously, is the injuries. That was the biggest issue last year. However, the first half of the season before he got hurt, he was doing pretty dang good, I would say. Obviously, Dolphins fans are excited. I'm not a Dolphins fan. I'm going to be honest. I just like their colors, and I know they haven't been the best in recent years. So I was excited for their fans because I didn't have much to be excited about personally. But I say if he stays healthy, they have a great chance of making the playoffs. I think they could go decently far. Obviously, that's not what Bengals fans or anyone else is going to want to hear, but I believe in them. And I say if the Giants pass on Daniel Jones and his 5th option, and they end up spending $40 million a year on him and only one positive season, the $20 million 5th-year option is a very safe bet, in my opinion.
Good point.
But yeah, big Tua girl.
He's a better quarterback than Daniel Jones.
Exactly. Yeah, way better. I love Tua. They just need to protect him. He needs to stop getting hurt.
Don't tell me you're about to go to bat.
So for those who don't-
Jones,
I
don't
love
do that.
Tua.
So for those who don't know, I am an Alabama Crimson Tide fan.
Roll Tide.
Roll
Boo.
Tide. There we go. Did you say boo?
Yeah.
Oh
I
my
said
God.
boo. I don't like Bama.
Ugh,
I don't, man.
can't wait
You're
to.
sitting next to a guy that went to
Well,
Alabama.
Lonely at the
well,
top,
can I give
you
a
know?
shout out to Alabama softball is good. Like I respect their softball.
They are. Their
program.
gymnastics
Montana
team
Phelps
is absolute
amazing.
killers.
Love them. That's all.
I think a lot of. For me, I just don't see it with Tua, and I got to be honest, I just don't see it with Tua. To me, I think that Mike McDaniel is a very, very smart coach, and he has gotten the most out of Tua, in which he could. I don't think the Dolphins can win with Tua, though, in the long run. I don't. I think that to hitch your wagon to a guy like Tua Tagovailoa is bad business. For me, they try to do everything in their power to try to cater to this guy's strength. I mean, the guy made Mike Gesicki look like he was non-existent out there.
That's
No, hold on. I'm just gotta be honest.
that's a lot to do with the scheme, man.
Yeah,
Come on.
Yeah, it is. And again, that comes down to his skill
That's
set.
the coach.
That comes down to his skill
That's
set.
the coach and the
But that
scheme.
comes down to his skill set.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, yes, it does.
Dude, he
Oh,
wants
yes,
a
it does.
blocking tight
Tua
end in
has
that
some-
scheme.
Tua throws one of the
Oh,
worst deep balls I've ever seen. Wow.
What does that have to do with
What are you
Gesicki?
defending? What are you defending? The
I'm
simple
defe-
fact of the matter
Look,
is,
I will
and you said up here,
No.
you said you said Daniel Jones. You said he was better than Daniel Jones.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah?
oh.
I'm saying
better. Just kidding.
Gesicki
I
not
think
being
they're all
involved
on
in
the
the
same level.
offense.
I think Tua and Daniel are on the exact same
Gesicki,
level.
the only point I'll push back on you is
Yeah.
Gesicki not being involved in the offense is not because Tua sucks. It's because he was not a fit for what Mike McDaniel wanted out of his tight ends in that offense.
Mm.
So I will push back on that point. Everything else, I'll let you go, bro. Go ahead.
Again, I just don't see it with Tua personally.
At
And
$9 million a year, though,
I mean, sure.
compared to what you're paying,
But to me, I
40
just
million
think,
for Jones.
I think there will be an opportunity at some point for the Miami Dolphins to get more out of the quarterback position. And I think, again, you exercising knowing with the injury risks and things of that nature, I would have loved to see Miami be in on Lamar Jackson. I would have loved to see them do
Absolutely.
that. It makes a lot of sense. And to me, I don't know, I would be all in on, instead of being all in on Jalen Ramsey, I'd be all in on trying to acquire Lamar Jackson if I were them personally. But
That's the other 30-year-old that they're going to be paying $20 million to.
right. So I don't know. I have a lot of questions. I just don't see it with Tua Tagovailoa. I think that maybe the Dolphins, maybe I'll be proven wrong, right? I've been proven wrong. I've been proven wrong before, and I'm not here to die on the hill and say Tua Tagovailoa has no upside in the National Football League. I just think when you match the injury concerns with the fact that he did take a leap this year, but then when he came back, it was a little bit wonky. He wasn't the same guy that we saw early in the season. I do wonder how the concussions play a role. I do wonder, is it sustainable? Is Lamar Jackson I have faith in Tua Tagovailoa. I think he's making fun of the way I say his name, but it's just one of the things where I got to wait and see. I got to take the wait and see approach when it comes to Tua. Moving on to the next topic, right? The question is being posed: who should be the number one overall pick? Now, we are in the great state of Ohio, and in the great state of Ohio, there is a guy that a lot of people love here named CJ Stroud, who a lot of people die on a hill, particularly my guy, Willie Lutz. He believes CJ Stroud should be the number one overall pick. I think it's like that little baby and Drake song, right? It's like wants and needs, right? For me,
It's a good song.
it's a very good song.
I love that song.
You may want CJ Stroud to be the number one overall pick, but and we're getting it in the comment section right now. Go Bucks, go Ohio.
Oh,
You may want CJ Stroud to be the number one overall pick, but the simple fact is the Panthers have a need at quarterback, right? And their need, it seems like Bryce Young sort of fits the MO of what they're looking for. Roll Tide again. So for me, I don't know. When I look at it, I have concerns about both quarterbacks. And I don't think I've ever really given my opinion on who I think should go number 1 overall, because again, my opinion doesn't mean jack shit. I do think Bryce Young, from a mental standpoint, is a little bit further along at the quarterback position than CJ Stroud. However, I do think that CJ Stroud is more of a guy that will take chances that'll go. Bryce Young plays a little too safe for my liking sometimes. And you always felt, I don't know, at least I felt that there was more to be had from Bryce Young on the football field. Like, to me, it took the guy such a long time to even, be willing to be a willing runner. We know that. Now, we could say that was, what's his face's name? Bill O'Brien's play calling.
Got thoughts on Bill O'Brien.
And I have thoughts on Bill O'Brien too. But for me, I just don't want a quarterback that's 5'9" out there. That's just me. I don't want to listen. We have pushed the quote unquote traits that we like to see of players a lot the last couple of years. Same thing with Kyler Murray. We have pushed that. We've pushed it so far that, at least Kyler Murray had the running ability to make up for, his height or whatever the case may be. He was a guy that understood where his deficiencies were.
A lot denser.
Yeah.
Or build too.
Right.
Muscular.
But
yeah.
I saw Bryce Young. The guy looks small. He was wearing high heels. He was wearing high heels damn near at the NFL Combine. Like the simple fact of the matter is, listen. I agree. CJ Stroud might have a higher ceiling. I do agree with that. I just think that because, was it Bryce Young, Daniel, that said when they asked him who does he model his game after, he said Ryan Tannehill? Was that him? He said that was one of the quarterbacks he looked up to. Yes, it was him. It was him. I think he said something about Ryan Tannehill. But to me, I don't know if my quarterback, and I mean, certainly I would believe it. I mean, how safe he plays. The guy doesn't take chances. He doesn't. But whenever he does take chances and push the ball down the field, successful. Maybe I'm just wrong. Evan's looking at me like I'm crazy right now. I'm curious what you have to say.
No, you're not crazy, man. And just with Bryce Young, what's the real question mark, right? Size, potential injury due to size, right? If we we're not ignoring the size, but just take it out of the equation. And you said you don't feel like maybe he took enough chances. And that's something that you have the benefit of asking him in the interview room, right? Or you have the benefit of being able to talk to Bill Belichick.
And that media scrum, I'm about to say,
but at the same time, man, that's the question mark, because this guy does everything about playing quarterback well. He has the touch to layer throws over defenders in the intermediate area where you constantly have to win in the NFL, where that success translates, where guys like Joe Burrow dominate and pick apart defenses. All right. You've got a guy who's the mental processor, who has an exceptional feel for defenders in the pocket, right? He is able to do that Drew Brees, Tom Brady thing where he can just take a step or two left or right. You said he doesn't scramble enough, but I think it's partly because he wants to sit in that pocket like a CJ Stroud did. We saw CJ Stroud didn't like to scramble either, and he made a conscious effort to do that toward the end of the season, and it really unlocked a lot of things for them. But I think we're looking at a guy who just does everything so well, and has the arm strength that you need to be successful. Doesn't have A+ or A arm strength, but he's got a quick motion. He's excellent processor, feels the rush well in the pocket, and moves around and navigates the pocket well, which is something that it's really hard to develop those traits as a quarterback. So again, if you are willing, if you check him out medically, if your team in your room decides, hey, we can look past that and we're willing to take a chance on him, I think is as clean as a prospect as you can be. And I'm not trying to slight CJ Stroud at all, because if you're not talking about, we don't feel comfortable with this size. We saw CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson come into the interview room after Bryce Young, and we suddenly felt a lot worse about how Bryce Young looked, right? Then okay, you're getting a quality quarterback that, like we said, if you're talking about what are CJ Stroud's deficiencies, you're talking about maybe he didn't scramble enough, doesn't quite have the feel in the pocket that Bryce Young does, right? That's something hopefully he can develop, but you're asking a quarterback to develop those instincts that Bryce Young already has, right? So it's basically the size that you're talking about. And to Stroud's credit, he is extremely accurate, guys. He had a 26.7 rate of perfectly placed throws, which led all FBS quarterbacks since 2021. So he is like the most accurate of the accurate out there. So pairing that with what you get from him playing at Ohio State, feeling confident about him, maybe he just wasn't coached up enough to say, scramble, or maybe he was told sit inside the pocket, try and run the offense, but he is more of a pocket passer than a scrambler. But as long as he can just do that when it makes sense, I think it can help take his game to another level.
Jules, I'm really curious. Who do you think should go number 1 overall. I mean, it's undoubtedly between Bryce Young and CJ Stroud.
Yeah. So I'm going back and forth between that. I do agree with Evan. I don't mean to disagree with you on everything. I
It's okay.
apologize.
It's all right.
He's
You're
wrong about
"Dang,
everything.
she's
It's not
against
your
me."
fault.
The
It's
sit
his
down with
fault.
Malik wrong. There we go. There we go.
Because we're sitting on the same side. It's fine.
Hey, it's the right side over
It's
here.
strategic.
But with
quite
this
literally.
is I have to swallow my pride a little bit to compliment CJ Stroud. Obviously, a great quarterback. I think the Georgia game, despite the loss, obviously helped in solidifying his draft stock.
Mhm.
But like Evan said, Bryce Young checks every single box except height. And I don't know. I don't think it's, and he's 5'10". I don't think he's 5'9", by the way. Well, you gotta give him an inch. Come on.
Did
Maybe
did
5'11",
measure
we'll
him
give
in
him
his
2.
Tom Cruise shoes?
They
Like
had
when
to
he
have-
Like
was,
he could like, can you like get a height? Like, can't you?
I would love to see. I would love. I would.
No
I-
offense
wait, is there
to
a
the
height
short kings out
transplant?
there.
What is this? What's going on?
Bryce Young is a short king. Don't disrespect Bryce Young. I think he's going first. But I don't know. I think CJ Stroud also. I don't. It's so hard because I really am not an Ohio State fan. I'm sure people watching know that, and they're probably recording this as we speak because I'm complimenting CJ Stroud.
Mhm.
But I don't think he's that far behind. He was
Right.
really accurate, and I think he's honestly might be a safer pick than Bryce Young. But again, it's only because I'm worried about his height.
Right.
And I hate to say that, but it is a concern.
Right.
And I think a good example of someone, I'm not comparing Bryce Young to Baker Mayfield. I'm just saying he had a lot of tipped passes
Yeah.
because
That is
his
just true.
height was an issue.
point.
And Baker was what, 6 foot?
I will
don't
say
think
really quick,
Baker's not 6 foot. He was 5'11".
data supports that people who are taller or shorter
Yeah.
does not matter when it comes to batted passes. The leaders in batted passes last year, I believe, out of the top 5, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and Josh Allen, all notably tall quarterbacks. Brock
know that.
Osweiler, 6'7", was a notably tall quarterback who had a lot of batted passes. I think it has a lot more about the offense and like how quickly you're throwing, defenders getting their hands up. But I understand your point about it can be difficult if you can't see these shorter quarterbacks like a Kyler Murray.
Mhm.
What's the problem he's had all of his career in the NFL? Hasn't been able to throw over the middle of the field
Mhm.
consistently.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that Bryce Young has proven he can do. So again, that's just another question mark for me that's answered. And if I told the both of you guys, Bryce Young weighed in at what? 194 at the combine? Was that right?
200.
Or
Wait, wise.
His playing weight was 194.
Yeah.
His I drank 3 gallons of water before this weight was 200 and something, right?
Oh, dang.
If I told you that you could comfortably put 10 pounds of muscle on him over the next year or two, does that assuage your concerns at
Sure.
all?
Sure.
So is that something that you say, hey, this guy's still a young guy. We get him in an NFL program and we start just packing this man with a bunch of food. Maybe we can put some muscle on him and feel a little bit better about that.
I mean, certainly he's going to get stronger, right? He's
Right,
gonna get
right,
bigger
right.
In the NFL, again, I think I'll leave it at that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
If we can
Also-
project it, I'm sorry, I don't mean to
I'm
cut you
definitely
off.
being flamed. I'm not saying he's like Baker Mayfield. I was comparing the heights. Don't yell at me. Don't cancel me yet. It was a bad comparison. I just couldn't think of a short quarterback. Essentially, I am afraid of him being able to see because
That's a fair
even
concern.
shorter. That's what I'm trying to say.
And that's fair.
Mhm.
You know what? Just so you guys know, we got a special guest in the house. My man from my company TWSN, Rishi, is in the building. He's a fan of the Seattle Seahawks, a big Seattle Seahawks guy. So he's
Mhm.
used to shorter quarterbacks.
Right.
Rishi, there's a mic right there next to
Yep.
Daniel. I'm very
Come
curious
on, Rishi.
who
Come here.
you think should be the number 1 overall pick and
Short kings.
why. Somebody said Malik has a big forehead. No cap.
I do too. That's
Appreciate
why I
that.
have my hat on.
Appreciate that. Wow.
My forehead is huge.
Yeah.
Okay, well, my first question is this assuming that nobody trades the first pick? Like the Panthers can't trade back down? They're
not trading
We're
that
not
pick.
going to do
Okay.
that.
Because my original plan was, well, the Texans are madly in love with Bryce Young, and the Panthers seem that they could go either way, right? CJ
Mhm.
Stroud or Bryce Young. So I'd want the Panthers to trade down, but assuming that doesn't happen, I'd probably go with CJ Stroud just because when you think of it, like I have not seen any short quarterbacks win consistently outside of Drew Brees. And Russell Wilson has done it, but Russell Wilson also had an insane run defense, an insane pass defense, an insane running game. And I think his offensive coordinators cut a lot of slack, Darryl Bevell, Brian Schottenheimer, for, they're scheming him wrong, right? But
Mhm.
there's certain limitations, as you said, Malik, in shorter quarterbacks. And, there's great points being made of like, Bryce Young has proven that he can throw over the middle of the field in the college level. But college defenses are way different than NFL defenses. Bryce Young's going to have to deal with a much more furious pass rush, way quicker defensive backs. And the big concern is the middle over the field passes for me. I think Bryce Young has proven he could do everything else. And especially he's done it in college, but I just don't think he's going to be able to do it in the NFL, especially with just way more quicker, faster, and athletic defenses.
Right.
He'll be able to win, but I just think that there's so much more that you have to pair him with on a team than CJ Stroud. And CJ Stroud, I agree with you, Malik. I think he has a higher ceiling and he's more raw athletically. If he can get in the habit of scrambling and really unlock it, sort of like Justin Fields did in his first 2 years with the Bears, I think he is the better pick.
My man is preaching. Thank you for that.
think I
Appreciate
ever
that.
gave my pick.
There we
Good
go.
answer.
Reach
Did I
right on
ever
the fly,
actually say
man.
someone?
This man just got off of a 4-hour
I think I
flight,
did.
came over here, and he just said that beautifully.
That was
Appreciate you,
awesome.
Reach. That was awesome. So we seem to all agree that Bryce Young is probably going to be the first overall pick, but it seems like CJ Stroud has the highest
I
ceiling,
realized
we
I
say?
don't think I ever actually said. I kind of went back and forth. I guess.
You did. You
I
did.
was like, I never really said.
Give
So
us a pick.
after
Give us
hearing
a pick.
everyone record, okay? Prove that I'm saying nothing. Wow, something nice about Ohio State. I think it's CJ. I really do.
You think CJ Stroud?
I
is-
think so. I think. I'm sorry, Short Kings, but I think the height thing is a concern for me.
I'm
And I
sorry,
think
Short King.
Stroud does have
Bad
a
day for
higher
me.
ceiling. Shout out Ohio State for
Wow.
Stroud.
I could just tell you right
I
now.
had a gun to my head when I said that. You guys just didn't see that. They like photoshopped it out.
I can tell you right now. I know your Twitter
Oh.
name is not so cool as Jules, but in the state of Ohio now, after hearing that,
Yeah.
you're definitely cool as Jules. Everybody's like, yeah, let's
Yeah.
go. She said that CJ Stroud should be the first overall pick. But again, if you guys could do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, drop your comments down in the comment section. We're about to enter the part soon in which we start answering your questions.
Ooh,
So that brings me to my next point. Next question, I guess we're going to post for the show is switching over to NBA. Who should be the
Yes.
favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference? Who do we have? The Celtics, to me, are on fraud watch with Jason Tatum.
frauds.
Yep.
Right? Jason
Frauds.
Tatum is, everybody swore he was on the same level as Luka Doncic. And I remember I got into several debates about that. And I'm a Celtics fan for you guys who don't know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, not the answer. Now we got the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers looking real dominant. I want to see how they look when Jared Allen gets back from his injury or whatever he's got going on there. They always got the Milwaukee Bucks, their players. Evans Miami Heats are frauds. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
I'll tell you right
Oh,
now. I'll be
you
the
guys
first
have
to
Kevin
tell
Love.
you. Like, if you're tangibly giving any minutes to Kyle Lowry expecting anything, dude's cooked. It's done. It's
Mhm.
over.
Mhm.
That's. I was
Been
talking to you this
cooked.
other day. This reminds me a lot of the Hawks with Paul Millsap and Al
Mhm.
Horford and Jeff Teague, where you got a lot of B plus players, and they're solid, they're above
Mhm.
average, they're good, but it's not enough to get you over the hump. And I think Jimmy Butler at his point, Bam Adebayo, two really good players. I mean, but then you got Tyler Hero and I mean the ghost of Kevin Love. I'm sorry,
Hey,
and
it's true.
like Caleb Martin and Zeller are getting large minutes for this team. Like I don't feel good about. Usually you felt great about the Heat's depth, right?
Right.
And you feel good about their defense, right? You talk about playoff basketball, you got to be multiple, right? Because your matchups are going to be heavily targeted. And you are going to scheme everything specifically to the team you're playing, whereas you
Right.
might not on a night-to-night
Mhm.
basis during the season. The Heat are multiple like that. They can play man, they can play zone, they can do it comfortably, and they can do it like the best in the or the NBA. They're a top 6 defense in terms of defensive efficiency, but the problem is the offense.
Mhm.
They're at the bottom with the Orlandos, with the Spurs, and that's just not going to be enough, especially when you play at one of the slowest paces in the NBA. So I'm immediately taking them out of that conversation, man. As much as it pains me to do so, I just don't think they have the goods to do it.
So just so you guys know, once again, Jules is a huge Cavaliers fan. Jules, make the case for your Cavaliers.
So obviously, first place for the East
Obviously.
right now is pretty much between the Celtics. I hate the Celtics. I'm so sorry.
Why? What do we?
Yeah. Wait.
Like I can
Same. Whoa,
feel
whoa,
like
whoa,
I don't
whoa.
hate teams,
Whoa.
but I can fit. Well, I do hate teams, but I also like make an announcement. I hope you guys are proud. In the NBA, I actually only like one team,
Mm.
There
Thank
we go.
you.
Well
There
played.
we go.
Well played.
And it's
Because people
typically-
always say, how are you a Browns
How do you
fan?
like-
How are you a Bengals fan? How are you a Guardians fan? How are you a Reds fan? That's what you hear all the
I'm
time.
like, I don't know. Okay, leave me alone. I'm really bad at decisions. I'm a woman. Leave me alone. Like, I can't decide where I'm eating every night. Do you think I could decide on my team? Yeah, for the NBA. Anyways, so the Cavs are 4th in the East right now, I believe. And they're like 7 games back. So we got like 9 games left. That's not happening unless, the Bucks and Celtics decide to lose the rest of their games.
Well, luckily for you, the Celtics can't figure out how to close out games.
Thank
Last
God.
night
That
we
sounds
lost
like
to
another
Lauri
team I
Markkanen.
know.
The other night we lost to Lauri Markkanen and the Utah Jazz.
Markkanen is valid. I love
But the
Markkanen. He
Utah
was valid for the
Jazz.
Cavs, and now he's really valid. Like,
Listen.
he's really good.
If Jason Tatum is him and he is who people proclaim him to be, listen, on this stretch, I want to say in the last week and a half, we've lost to the Rockets, the Rockets and the Utah Jazz.
That's bad.
And I think the other night, who were they missing, Daniel? They were missing a couple of people were out. There were a couple of people were out. We had
Yeah.
Taylor Horton Tucker
Horford
giving
was
giving
out,
him buckets. Giving him buckets. This guy, Jason Tatum, couldn't make a 3 to save his life. Oh, Jaylen Brown, I love you, brother. I do. But the simple fact is that guy couldn't hit a free throw to save his life the other night.
Sad.
So yeah, I do have questions. I do have an issue with the way the Cavaliers have been closing out. I do. I don't know if that's a coaching issue. I don't know if that's a Jason Tatum
The
issue.
Celtics.
I don't for the ball. Yeah, I don't know what that is, but for me, it's pissing me off because the ceiling, the expectation was much higher for the Boston Celtics.
Mhm.
What's up?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have something to say. I just
Oh, yeah.
wanted to put a little brag that the Cavs have won 3 of their last 4.
That's
And
fine. That's
the
fine.
only concern right now is Jarrett Allen being out. My little bestie. I love that man. I love him. I think he actually took place of Kevin Love in my heart. Kevin,
Wow.
I still watch you, I swear. No, I don't. Anyways, the Celtics and the Sixers, man.
Sixers are
I
playing
just
well.
don't think we could catch up, but I do think ultimately when it comes to the playoffs, since that's the entire point of this conversation, and I kind of went on a tangent. Shout out ADHD. Anyways, I think the Cavs have a chance. I would prefer that the Cavs in the first round, because obviously they're going to make it. I'm not worried. We're playing like the Rockets coming up, and then the Knicks are all right. They're like what 2.5 games below us.
Don't
so
upset those Knicks fans.
I don't care. I hate the Knicks. I hate everyone, but the Cavs. The Heat are all right, I guess.
Oh, okay.
They have
Appreciate
Kevin.
that.
They have Duncan Robinson. I hope they still have
The
him.
Heat are just the most
I love them.
underwhelming team.
I would rather
Right.
I would rather the Cavs play the Nets in the first round than the Knicks, though. 100%, because the Nets really aren't that great. And I'm gonna regret saying that, but also I want them to get revenge from last year and their play-in game against the Knicks. I mean Nets, not Knicks. Cancel me. But I'm still upset about that. It actually keeps me up at night. And I'm just like, damn, we lost to the Nets last year. Now they don't have Kevin. I mean, come on, they don't have Durant. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not worried. Kyrie, I don't even know his situation ever. Sometimes
I don't
he's
think
a
Kyrie knows
basketball
his
player, and
situation.
sometimes he's not. It kind of just depends, like what side of the bed. He
Jules
wakes up
is
in the
roasted
morning.
in Kyrie now. I love it.
Hey, that's something I can get on board
Kyrie,
with.
when he left Cleveland, like low key bashed the city of Cleveland, which I don't really like. And
Then
for,
went to
for like a
Boston,
year,
Then went to the
Yeah.
Celtics and said, "I'm here
he was
forever.
like,
I love
wanna Be
it.
the man.
See you later. Thank you. It's
But you
been
want to know,
great."
you want to know throughout this entire situation what I find fascinating. The Bucks, nobody really talks about the Bucks because I guess they're just a boring team.
They're
We know
boring,
Giannis
but
grabs
they're
the
also
ball,
good.
They're
goes
the
down the court,
favorite,
dunks.
and they're the easy
Yeah.
one. They're the
But-
clean prospect.
But
That's
you know
why.
what's really sad? Nobody talks about the 76ers.
I
Nobody
don't like
makes
them.
a case for Joel Embiid.
Joel
But
Embiid is the
Fans are
man.
But
mean.
every year, Joel Embiid
They're
is
mean.
he can be league MVP. Every year you get that stance, right? Trust the process. I looked at Daniel at the beginning of this year and I said, Daniel, the process is dead.
What
Yeah, there's no
happens?
process.
What
It's not
happens?
process.
It's not dead yet.
When you
It's
get in
not
the
dead yet.
It's
playoffs,
been dead.
we
That's
talked about
cap.
defense.
That's
When you
cap.
get in the playoffs,
Cap.
are your Celtics not going to go after James Harden
100%.
every
100%.
single
Oh, yeah.
play? And that's the
100%.
problem. That's the problem I have with the Sixers because Joel Embiid is a monster. He is arguably the best player in the NBA, depending on how you view him or
Mhm.
Jokic this season. He's my favorite for the MVP over Jokic.
For who?
Over Jokic.
No,
I'm sorry.
no,
We can talk about that at another
no.
time.
He is not. No. Mm-mm.
I'm sorry. The Nuggets are on a losing streak, looking absolutely lost right now.
They just
while
won.
Joel
They just won.
Embiid is hitting
Relax,
game
they
winners.
Just won. They
Oh
just
my
won.
God, they broke. Wow, good job. I don't think they have
I
the
don't-
defense.
The numbers speak more to Joker's side than it does Embiid's
I'm
side.
just
Every
saying,
single
my
night, night
point
in, night
was,
out. He
I don't
leads
believe in
the
the rest
league
of the
this year, I
Sixers.
believe, in triple doubles, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Doesn't he? Like, come on, that guy is league
I agree
MVP.
with
I
you for
understand.
once.
You know what I mean?
do.
That guy is league MVP. Come on. Like for some reason, the voters just don't vote Embiid over Jokic. I mean, at this point,
Yeah.
I just think it's an effort thing. Jokic doesn't sit out games. Embiid doesn't really sit out games either, but down the stretch, I mean, I don't care if his team is getting blown out or if he's up by 20, that guy's finishing the game. And I know because every single night I bet his rebound prop when he plays.
That's
So,
fair, but we're not talking about the West. We're talking about the East.
We are.
But
no one
anyways,
cares
that's-
about the West.
I'm just saying that the Sixers, I feel like they are absolutely getting hot at the right time. But again, the playoffs are about the matchups. And why I'm high on the Celtics is because we talked about it. If you need to get attacked from any direction, especially with guys coming off the bench, if you're trying to take advantage of those bench points, if you got Brogdon, if you got White coming off the bench, that's two of the better guards in the NBA coming off the bench right there. You got a team that can attack so many different ways on defense, on offense, that they can morph to whatever they need to be to beat whoever's in front of them. And you just can't say that about some of these other teams that rely on one or two guys like that and try and hide guys like you have to hide James Harden on defense every play.
I think it's going to be one of those situations where the East is going to come down to who the hottest team is. I hope the Celtics can turn around.
Cavs.
We'll see what happens with Jules believes it's the Cavaliers.
The Cavs, they own the Celtics. They have since LeBron, and they still do. They have. They always knocked you guys out. Then they will
you know
do it
what?
again.
For the sake of this show and pure entertainment, I hope we face the Cavaliers. I really
do
do.
too.
So
I'll be there.
We both want that smoke.
Cleveland, I will be back when the
Okay.
Celtics and the Cavs play each other.
We both want that smoke.
Yeah, I do.
All right.
I'll
Say
be
less.
there with a sign and
All right.
everything.
All right. Let's keep the conversation rolling. But before we do, give this video a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. Really appreciate your support. If you're looking to also, get into a career as a broker, there's no better place than First Star Logistics. Can't say enough great things about the people, the culture here. And we're going to get to your questions as well in the comment section. We see all those. So make sure you keep asking those things, and we're going to get to all those things. But we want to keep it on one last NBA topic, Ja Morant. Ja Morant, obviously, we know the unfortunate situation that took place. How long has this been now? 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago?
2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks
He was
ago,
suspended 8 games.
right, where he was in a strip club or a club after a game, waving a gun around on live. And he's had several incidents, whether it be apparently someone, a part of his entourage, pointing a gun, with a laser at media members of the Pacers, or it's been countless one thing after another, when it comes to Ja Morant. So the question I have, I feel like a lot of people for the last 2 weeks have done nothing but beat down on the guy, right? And they talked negatively about him. And I really, really chose to hold my opinions to myself. I want to talk about a pathway forward for him. I want to talk about how does he build back. So I guess I'll leave that. I'll open it up for that. How does Ja Morant build back? Because the expectation for Ja was going to be one of the best players in the league this year, which he was having a phenomenal season. Some people even said he was a potential MVP type of candidate. Some people had the Grizzlies being favorited, to come out of the West. I really do wonder now, how does Ja Morant build back and become the leader for the Memphis Grizzlies that they need him to be?
It's tough, and you want to be delicate because we find out a lot of times after the fact that sometimes there's mental health stuff going on, right? And sometimes these people come from circumstances that I can't even begin to fathom or wrap my head around, right? So I try not to be judgmental in that sense, but just looking at the pattern of behavior that you've seen as this season has kind of unfolded. You heard about the confrontation with security at the mall outside of Foot Locker. You heard about him getting a little bit physical with a minor in a pickup game. You heard about the post Pacers game, someone from his entourage shining a laser. No one knows who, but the implication of that is quite clear, right? After you just had beef with everyone on the court. And then that culminated in him kind of showing the gun in the story. And it just all adds up to where, he came out in his interview, I believe, with Jalen Rose and said a lot of the off-field stuff is a little bit exaggerated. But at the same time, there's a pattern here where even if half of it's bogus, there's still truth to some of it. And it's definitely somebody who probably, he checked himself into counseling, could use help figuring out maybe why those patterns are something he's fallen back into, because maybe it's somewhat the people he's had around. Maybe it's a little bit of the entourage that he's surrounded them with. And it's hard because as an athlete, as someone making millions of dollars, you want to share that with the people who've been close to you, who've supported you in your life. But at the same time, I heard someone say, and I thought it was a good point, if the people you're hanging around with are your real friends, they're not going to let you do that stuff. They're going to look out for your best interest. They're going to be trying to make sure that you're protecting yourself and being smart. And I think maybe he, in that retreat that he took to kind of reflect and kind of examine what he's done or what he hasn't done, who's to say what the truth is to all of that. But I think he's taken a look inward and probably going to reevaluate maybe who he surrounds himself with, who he takes advice from. And I think that's the best path forward, is for him to say, what have I been doing and why have I been doing it? Are there better ways for me to channel whatever I'm feeling? Is there help that I need? Whether that's from friends, family, therapist. I mean, I've gone to therapy, guys. Like, it's important to get checked on mental health. Like, and if you're struggling with anything, please just talk to somebody. Even if it's not a therapist, talk to a friend, just because you might find out that you're not the only one going through it. And sometimes that can be relieving, right? So I don't want to sit here and project and say, I know what's going on, because I don't. I just hope that he evaluates the people he has around him, surrounds himself with good people he can confide in, and hopefully can move forward with this in a more mature manner, and hopefully be that leader that he can be in the NBA, because he has the talent.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I'd like to see him just take a little bit of a stride forward in trying to mature a little bit. And he's still young. We know that, even at 24 and 25, I was a shithead, guys. Like, so
tell us those stories. We love to hear them.
Yeah,
I got plenty of
Let's do a whole
stories. We don't need
segment,
to get on that at all. I'm sure I got a couple friends that might chime in the comments and throw one or two things in there. But no, that's my piece on him. I hope he does whatever's best for Ja Morant.
Absolutely. Jules, you have anything you want to add to that?
Obviously, it's like Evan and Malik said, this is a very sad and hard situation. Obviously, we don't know what's going on. I'm literally just a random girl from Ohio, so I really don't know what's going on at all with him. And like Evan said, this could be spiraling from other mental health issues. And he's obviously, from my understanding, getting the counseling and getting the help for it. I'm not worried with him coming back. I think he'll be the same player. I mean, maybe I just have too much faith, but I think he will. I'm really not that concerned. I think he'll continue to get the help he needs. I think he'll realize, I think he'll reflect. And like you said, like, maybe it is just who he's surrounding himself with.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you do become, or you are who you surround yourself with, but you can change that. And again, I know it's a stigma for men to not feel like they can get help. Other men will view it as weak, but really get help if you need it, because not only are you hurting yourself, you can also hurt other people because you're refusing to get that help. But he is getting that help, and I hope he continues. I think he's on the right track, and I think he'll be back to who he was before.
Love to hear it. So it seems like we're all Ja Morant supporters here and Ja Morant fans. I think he's great. I think he's a more efficient Russell Westbrook. But that's a different topic for a different day. That's literally been my comparison to.
God, I feel like
for
that's
quite some
almost
time.
like a dig at Ja Morant.
No,
Yeah,
I think
honestly,
Russell Westbrook is a future Hall of
That's
Famer.
my
Russell's like my
opinion of
Baker Mayfield
Westbrook.
comparison. but
Russell
worse.
Westbrook is a future Hall of Famer. What are we talking about here?
I love Russell. He's just.
I love him. Man. He's
great.
he's a little.
He's cool.
He's great out there.
He seems like
Little-
a great guy. I imagine he's a great
little
person.
goofy.
He's everywhere. A little goofy.
So nice.
Yeah.
I've actually met
Little-
him personally.
little-
I haven't. He's just so nice though. Totally.
So
And I like the guy.
I love the guy.
oh my! Somebody said, "Is there a less efficient Russell Westbrook?"
That's a
No, that's
Sorry
the
for
answer.
No,
laugh.
I
That
agree,
was
man. I
loud.
agree, Doug.
Oh.
No, I'm sorry.
That's a good one. I like that.
I love Ja.
We want to keep the conversation going, guys. This is the part where we start answering your questions. If you guys give this video a like,
Oh, God.
please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Again, we have our betting show tomorrow at 6 p.m. And then we have our State of the Jungle this upcoming Wednesday at 7 p.m. So we definitely want to make sure you guys tune in. So if we got 100 plus people here, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Greatly appreciate it. Let's get to some of these questions. Daniel, take it away.
So our guy JJ Productions has been asking, is LeBron James falling off a cliff? As in, is he not the same player he once was?
Isn't he like 30? Is he
He's like
37,
38,
38? He's definitely 38.
I don't think Lamar. I don't think too many love. I don't think LeBron James is falling off a cliff. I just think that injuries catch up to you, man. You know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know,
So is age sometimes.
that guy.
I mean, he's still averaging 29.
He's still good. Like
Yeah.
his bad is
7
someone's
and
best.
8.5. So I mean, like, is he slow? Is he injured? Yeah, but has he slowed down? I mean, he's playing different. He's relying more on the post moves. He's relying a little bit more on the jump shooting. He's doing a little bit less of the Miami Heat freight train into the rack, but I think he's still found ways to be efficient.
I think LeBron James isn't falling off a cliff. Reese, you agree with that? I don't think LeBron's falling off a cliff.
I mean, it's the second best scoring
Yeah.
season in like 8 seasons.
You know you're good when your best. I mean, your worst is someone else's best.
Right.
I mean, come on. I mean, yeah, he might be falling off compared to how he was, but most people aren't at their peak forever. I don't think it's anything to be really worried about. I mean, he should come back to Cleveland. He wouldn't have these issues. But you heard it here first.
I don't think they want to go back down that slippery slope.
Nah.
No.
Well, then we have to get rid of half our team and get LeBron.
Somebody said he's ancient.
He's not ancient.
He's the greatest basketball player of all time.
Oh,
I love
always.
LeBron.
That
He
is it. He's the greatest
better
basketball
than
player of all
everyone ever.
time. And yeah. Anyway,
Our guy Eric said, this is going back to the Lamar topic. He
Oh, God.
said, odds on Lamar Jackson sitting out this year. What do you guys think?
Knowing him, he would. I feel like he'd be petty enough to just be like, "Yeah, screw you guys." I'm. Sitting out."
actually, I agree with Jules.
I feel like he is. He's so.
I don't
petty.
put anything past Lamar. I
If
think
he sat
Lamar,
out the playoff game, why wouldn't he sit out this
Yeah, what's
season if he's
different
got
now?
the same health
Right.
concerns and they were
like-
going through all this
Why Leonard?
tumult? Is that the
Oh man.
noun form of that? Tumult?
Tumult?
Going
See,
through all this
He
tumult?
said, JJ Production says, "Be quiet, Malik." And Michael Jordan is better.
Nuh-uh.
JJ, how old are
You're
you?
wrong.
I want to ask you that, brother. How old are you? Because I don't think you could say somebody's better if you've never seen them play. Like for me, like we are, it's ingrained in our heads that these athletes are better. Like we grew up, Joe Montana is better than everybody. He's the greatest quarterback of all time, right? And then we grew up with Muhammad Ali is the greatest boxer of all time. Then we grew up with Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. Behind what under what merit is he? Like he's more successful, sure. But literally, super teams have come together to stop LeBron James.
Exactly.
Let's talk
Shout
about
out the Warriors.
Like super teams have come together to stop LeBron
The
James.
Celtics attempt.
And the fact of the matter is, LeBron James, if you, I'm sure if you line LeBron James up over any other player in NBA, and you tell a GM, hey, start your franchise with any player, I guarantee LeBron James is the first pick. I guarantee it. LeBron James is a physical specimen. And I hate to say it like that, but the fact of the matter is the guy covers up so much ground on the court. He came into the league struggling to shoot threes. He's mastered that craft. He's gotten better as his career has gone on. Listen, LeBron James is 38 years old, putting up ridiculous numbers. What was MJ doing at 38, quitting on the Wizards?
Malik, do you think that this is a question? Do you think MJ made his teammates better?
I think. Ooh, that is a good question. I think MJ and Kobe are very
in a
similar
different
in
way,
that-
where
in a
they
different way,
challenge,
where they
the
challenge
guys.
you.
They made you be better.
But I think when we mention Michael Jordan, we have to mention Pippen. We have to mention we have to mention the players that he had around him. One of the greatest 3-point shooters in NBA history, Steve Kerr, who's also one of the best coaches, right? Like we have to mention that. Everybody's sitting here acting like MJ did it by
Robert
himself.
Horry?
He never did it by himself. The guy literally kept getting bounced in the second round before he had those talented players join him. Like what do we like for me again? Super teams have come together to stop LeBron James. So when people talk about
Somebody said the Warriors did not come together to stop LeBron.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
they
they did.
added
Kevin
Durant
Durant.
after they had Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson.
He said that narrative is forced.
it's
no,
not
it's
forced.
not.
The man made what?
The narrative
like
is-
10
They
straight
had to add
conference
Durant
finals,
to
like-
beat LeBron because they couldn't the year before. They got beat by well, no, Kevin Love was
Who was he
decent at the
playing
time.
against too? Like I know you can only put your competition, but he was playing freaking cab drivers out there, Jordan.
Yeah, he was playing plumbers.
Yo,
I will
man.
not
Remember we were
stand for
watching
this
his
John
tape,
Stockton
Daniel?
Plumbers.
And he's
slander.
he literally would fake it, and the defender would literally go flying. I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, these guys nowadays in the NBA are freaks, bro.
Yeah,
James
it's
Harden would have dominated
level
in
of
the
competition.
90s. He would have dominated.
Kevin Love would have
Joel
dominated.
Embiid would have dominated. Kevin Love
The
would have been
whole
great. Like,
time.
what are we talking about
His whole
here? You were
career.
acting like the talent pool in the 90s was so great and so grand. No, guys,
It
that's
wasn't.
not true.
They
So-
just picked people off the street, man.
This guy's facing trash players.
I'm gonna
And,
scoot this way and distance myself from their position.
Jordan,
he got worked by Larry Bird, didn't he? Like, what are we talking
I
about
have
here,
something
bro?
to say.
The one competition he had, he struggled with. He also struggled with the Pistons, didn't he? Like, what are we talking about here? But yet, still, this guy is the greatest player of all time because when he joined when Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman came, he was finally able to cross over that barrier and finally experience some level of success. So if you want to crown him off of 6 rings, cool, let's do that. But let's also remember, what's the dude's name with 7 rings?
Bill Russell.
Oh, Robert
no, he
Horry.
got
Robert
more
Horry.
than
Let's
that.
mention him too. Let's mention him too.
You had something
yeah.
to say. Do you
Sorry, I
remember?
was wiping my nose.
No, you're good.
Oh, I gotta go a little close.
No, you're good.
Also, I just want to give a shout out to the popcorn. It's pretty good. I can do
That
a live
first star
popcorn
popcorn.
rating.
That
First star popcorn.
and that coffee too.
It's great.
Coffee's crazy. So something. I mean, we opened a can of worms here, Malik. I've got something for you.
Gosh,
MJ got all 6 of his rings with the Bulls. What do you have to say
He
about
certainly
that?
did.
Oh my
Right
God,
after.
if only
Right.
the Cavs would have surrounded LeBron with a Dennis Rodman and the Scottie Pippen and what did
LeBron
he get?
James was taking.
Jermaine O'Neal.
LeBron
and
gave the
Shaquille-
Cavs a championship. Michael Jordan couldn't do that. Period. Thank you.
Right. The fact that, and I agree with you, right? Because we got to remember, Jordan didn't cross over that barrier until we added those stars next to him. And I know people are going to give me hate for it because I'm going against the grain here. But the simple fact of the matter is, LeBron was carrying J.R. Smith. What's my man's name? Bubba Wallace. Was that? I forgot the dude's name. I forgot his name. Anyway, he was carrying absolute bums. Like, do you understand how crazy? LeBron went to the finals for how many years in a
Matthew
row?
Dellavedova.
Matthew
Delly.
Dellavedova.
I
Chetty
love
Osman.
Delly.
Like, LeBron went to the finals
Richard
like
Jefferson
10 years in a
carried
row,
that
whatever the
team.
case may be.
Mo
Like,
Williams
do
was
you know
his
how
best
Mo
player.
Williams? That's who it
Alabama,
was.
great
Mo
Mo
Williams.
Williams.
Like, what are we
Yeah,
talking
Mo
about here? Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
Let's not be ESPN and devolve into
Kevin-
an MJ versus
No.
LeBron.
No. We're not trying to be
I
the
know,
worldwide leader
know.
of sports. But no, if we're going to talk about this, that's what we do here on the sit down.
Why not
We
Malik
talk
aim
about
high?
everything.
I
I've been
want to
waiting.
give a shout out to Kevin
Listen,
Love.
listen to me. Listen to me.
I love
I know of a friend of mine who is a huge Michael Jordan fan. I know he's going to see this rant, and I'm just going to say this. LeBron James, when we talk about the players, let's remove the accomplishments. LeBron James has already surpassed Jordan a long time ago.
Yep.
Let's be real about it. His longevity speaks for itself. So people could say whatever they want. The fact of the matter is LeBron James is the greatest NBA player of all time. He may not retire with the most rings. He may not surpass Jordan the most rings. But the simple fact of the matter is LeBron James is the greatest NBA player to grace the floor. I didn't say the most skilled because for a large part of there, LeBron James was the biggest, was the fastest guy on the court. He was, right? That gap has closed. Now we start to see people like the Giannis's of the world and things of that nature. But the fact of the matter is LeBron James was dominant in his era. LeBron James was dominant. The fact of the matter is, I think LeBron James made more finals than MJ as well. And if LeBron James,
but making it there doesn't matter. Apparently, making it there doesn't matter.
Making
it there and not
Well,
winning
shout out to the
counts
Cavs, but-
against you. In fact, you're better off not making it to the finals or not even making it to the playoffs because people will just be like, "No, you lost in the finals, so you failed."
Yeah. I think the Cavs honestly had a power team with Richard Jefferson and Kyle Korver, Kyrie Irving.
I just think people.
James.
I just feel like people are robots when it comes to this Michael Jordan thing. They act like it's just like not up for debate. Like,
oh man,
I don't know. It's weird.
Can I
to
give
me.
a shout out to Kevin Love?
Sure.
So a few things for the Warriors fans out there. First of all, you blew a 3-1 lead. Second of all, you let Kevin Love lockdown defense game 7 against Steph Curry. You know what I'm talking about. So to Cavs fans, I just want to give him a shout out for that. I think it's always overlooked. And also, I'm just really biased, and I love.
God,
Kevin.
he had newborn baby calf ankles on that play,
Yeah,
but he
that
held
was
up.
insane.
He looked
I
so
was like,
unstable,
is that the
but
same
he
Kevin
did
Love
it.
I worship?
Oh
Yeah,
my
it is.
God.
That's why. Love him. Miss you, Kevin. I hope you're watching this right now. I even choked up a little bit.
So I want to keep it on the James topic, but somebody's saying, is Bronny James going to live up to the hype?
What's the
No.
hype? What I don't know.
Just
what the
kidding.
hype
I don't
is.
actually know.
The kids never live up to the hype, guys.
Yeah,
There's a
the
reason
kids
you've
do
never heard
not.
of Michael Jordan's kids, and if you really believe he's
Yes,
the
kids.
greatest basketball player ever,
Oh,
like
that was me.
if even Michael Jordan couldn't do it, like I don't know. I think I don't think it's like fair to say he's not going to be a good player, but to like expect him to be Hall of Fame, top 20 or 30 player, that's a lot to ask anybody.
Completely. So we've got one more NBA question. Eric says, I'm a Timberwolves fan, and from the start, I thought we gave up too much for Rudy Gobert. He said,
Agreed.
I haven't been proven wrong yet, but do you think that Rudy Gobert and the Timberwolves are going to be good?
Malik?
No,
I don't
No.
think so either.
No.
I don't like.
I think they're regretting that.
Ant
I
is
mean,
so good. God.
I mean, that just dude provides nothing offensively, man.
Thanks
nothing.
for Ricky Rubio. I love him. I love Ricky.
We got a
Great guy.
question. We got a question for Jules.
Oh God.
Here it goes.
Let me
Oh,
guess.
God.
Who
Yeah,
you
yeah,
like
yeah.
more, the Reds or the Guardians?
Nope.
You guys are so, what is that?
We talked about this before the show, actually.
Oh.
He said, or I don't know if he said, can we ask Jules about Xavier versus Texas?
Oh.
So I'm just a messenger. Don't
right.
Don't shoot me. I'm just a
Xavier
messenger.
versus Texas. All right. So I've been a Xavier hater as of late. No, I always have. Get that straight there. I've always disliked
Camera's right
Xavier.
here.
I've always disliked them. Go UC. They're out here in the NIT. I'm not really sure when they play next, and honestly, don't care. I have Texas winning it all. So outside of
Hate to see
being
it.
biased against Xavier, I also need Texas to win. I also have a bet with a Xavier fan, my third favorite Xavier fan, Andy. We
Third
bet-
favorite. That is such a weird thing to rank.
Yeah, because he's not my first favorite, and I don't have a second, so I made him third. I don't even have a first either.
All right.
But if Xavier wins Friday, I have to make my profile picture across all social media accounts the blob, which I
Oh.
want to give the little Xavier blob a shout out because it's cute.
It's the mascot.
And it's their little mascot. The musketeer is ugly. Like, what is that supposed to be? But
think
the
it's supposed to be a
blob,
musketeer.
the blob is lit. That's a good point. Yeah, that would be. But it's just like ugly. Like the blob is up here. And apparently I heard from Xavier fans that the blob gets a lot of hate. And you guys are dumb for that. You guys are dumb for that because it's cute. It's a lot of fun and it rules. And it like rules on the court during the game. And they're like, rule a blob or something. I wouldn't know. I'm not a Xavier fan. But ultimately, I guess if Xavier wins, I did say I'm representing the Big East, but I don't know. I think, I don't know. I've talked a lot of crap about them for very valid reasons. And I don't think I can like them because I'm going to get crap for it. But
Stick to your guns, Annie Oakley.
ultimately, Texas, please win because I don't want to deal with the stuff I'm going to get on Twitter because of you guys losing and my bracket is in shambles. So shout out to Purdue for that. I don't like Purdue.
Oh
Don't.
man, somebody said Jules is drunk for thinking that Texas is gonna win it all.
That's bias. Why are Xavier fans here? Get out.
So we've got people asking about Foster Moreau really quickly.
There's no update on that.
There you have it.
There
if
you
there
go.
That's the
was-
update. There's no
There's no
update.
Question from our guy Evan Hartman. He said, "How come Chauncey Gardner-Johnson got signed with the Lions for such a small price?"
There are concerns about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson around the league. Yeah, I'll just tell you, I know for a fact Cincinnati was never interested, nor did they ever make contact with him.
All right, and we've got one more about the Bengals really quickly. Once again, I'm just a messenger.
Oh, God.
Alex, he said, do you guys see the Bengals going into a running back by committee, keeping Mixon and splitting the touches with Williams and Evans, or do they draft? Do they draft?
Evan,
a
I'll let
running
you
back?
take that.
All you, man.
Yeah,
If you were-
Maserev.
If you were paying Joe Mixon $12 million to be a running back by committee running back, what are we doing here? Like, and I'm not saying that to be like upset with any of you guys. I appreciate the question. Thank you for supporting us. I say that because that just would not make logical sense from the Bengals. And I'm not trying to like put it past them or say it's not going to happen. I think we all expect that the Bengals have done a lot of work on running backs in the draft, and we fully expect them to add to that room. But if this is the whole point, if you got to take Mixon off the field because he can't pass block or you don't feel confident about that, and you saw the shift as Samaje Perine got more run, again, what's the justification for paying this guy like a top 7 or top 8 back in that case? And the answer is you can't justify it. So I don't know. There's maybe Mike Brown. There's talk Mike Brown just wants to do right by Joe Mixon. The Bengals have a history of honoring contracts, all this stuff. But from a logical standpoint, there is no logic or reason for why Joe Mixon would be on the roster if you are going to pivot to another running back for more than 60% of the touches, 65% of the touches. So that just doesn't make sense to me.
We've got one more question for Jules from our guy
What?
Daniel. This is a baseball question.
Ooh, baseball.
We got a baseball. Jules, thoughts on the Votto trade to Toronto rumors or whatever they are right now?
Yeah, so I did see very little about that. I was like on Twitter today, but not actively on it. I was just tweeting stupid stuff and then would leave. But so somebody texted me about it and I haven't really read about it, but I know that's a thing. I don't think they would trade him. I don't see the point. I don't think they would do that to them. If they do, that's am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah.
Speak your mind, Jules.
Speak your
Okay,
mind.
that's really shitty of the Reds to do that. I don't think they will. I mean, they wouldn't do that to him. He wants to finish. I know it's a business, okay, and maybe I'm a little soft, but we all know that Joey Votto wants to finish his career with the Reds, and it would leave a very bad taste. Not that they haven't done it before, in fans' mouths and players, and you, especially now with the climate and the negativity towards that organization, they're not going to do it. I feel like there's been rumors before. I don't see that happening. I don't get the point. I think somebody just took something and ran with it. I don't think that's happening.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey, Daniel, can we answer that one question that Dean had for us about Brandon Cooks and Mecole Hardman?
Of course.
He reached out on Twitter. Appreciate you following along. He said he might not be able to tune into the live chat, but we wanted to get his question in. He said he was curious about what we thought about the Brandon Cooks move for the Cowboys. And he also brought up Mecole Hardman, saying that he saw them as kind of similar players in terms of their roles and wondered why they might go after Brandon Cooks and why Mecole Hardman remains unsigned. So, Malik, I'll let you go ahead and take that real quick.
Sure. I mean, the fact of the matter is the Cowboys have had interest in Brandon Cooks, Odell Beckham, even DeAndre Hopkins, I know, had interest in them, and that's where he wanted to be traded to. So the Cowboys, ever since they got out of the Amari Cooper business, they've been looking for a guy to stretch the field, if you will. And, that's the reason why Brandon Cooks actually last year thought he was getting traded at the trade deadline to the Dallas Cowboys. That's why he had all those weird tweets getting put out there because they thought that was going to happen. Then something with the physical didn't, it kind of came out he wasn't the healthiest or whatever the case may be. And so they kind of nixed that deal or even, going after it because I guess they got wind about that. But I think Mecole Hardman's thing is a production standpoint. I think his agent, all of them, they're looking to cash in. And it sucks because it feels like Mecole Hardman is finding himself in the same exact, situation as like
bad time to be a free agent wide receiver. Real bad market.
The Deshaun Jacksons, just the little speedy type of receivers that just kind of just float around the league.
That injury prone label.
It's crazy because he hasn't even been injured a lot, right? But the production isn't always there. He's had some critical drops and things of that nature. And teams weigh that heavily when it comes down to giving a guy, especially an outside free agent who they're not used to, a big contract. And Mecole Hardman is a guy that I think is ridiculously talented. But I think the sentiment around the league is if the Kansas City Chiefs didn't want to keep him, right,
and they need wide receivers,
he ideally would be the perfect match to replace the Tyreek Hill role. Why would we go after him? And I think it comes strictly down to a production standpoint, which is why it spoke volumes of how they kind of viewed him when they went out and they got Kadarius Toney.
I think that makes sense. And also you kind of mentioned that the Cowboys were pursuing a veteran, right?
Yeah.
They clearly wanted someone who they felt they could be sure was going to come in and produce right away. And we've seen Brandon Cooks do this on a number of teams and different environments and different schemes with even putrid quarterback play. He still went over 1,000 yards with Davis Mills. So when you're talking about all that, I think the Cowboys, even though he's older than Mecole Hardman, felt like he was a bit more of a sure thing to translate into their offense and give them immediate return on production. Whereas if you're signing Mecole Hardman, maybe it's a 2 or a 3-year deal that you're kind of hoping he kind of absolutely comes through for you, which you can't feel confident banking on. And with their window right now, you got their safety, Wilson back. You've got Leighton Vander Esch is back. Their offensive line is still together. You just cut Zeke. It feels like you've got the next, year or two to really kind of make this count. So I think you're going to see them try and do that. And I think that's probably why they opted for a Brandon Cooks more than taking a chance on a Mecole Hardman.
Malik?
All right. Well, that's all the time that we have here. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, first and foremost. If you guys could do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. We'll be back here tomorrow for the Right Bet, the official sports book. The official sports betting show, presented by First Star Logistics, sponsored by Betfred Sportsbook. Make sure you guys are back here joining us tomorrow at 6 p.m. as we break down all the best bets for you guys and we help win you guys some money. This was a blast talking with you guys. Jules, first and foremost, bravo, did a fantastic
Thank
job
you.
on your first show
Go Reds.
here.
Go
Go
Cavs.
Reds on the sit down
Other
presented by
people too.
First Star Logistics. We appreciate all y'all for supporting, tuning in. Hopefully you guys give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, the whole 9 yards. We'll be back here every single Monday, 7 p.m., same crew, same place. And until next time, we hope that you guys have a great night. Thanks for tuning in.